Forza Motorsports 5 introduced me to the concept of customizable difficulty. I most likely have encountered it before, but it was Forza 5 that gave me such an extensive list of options. I've always had the opinion that gamers enjoy nothing more than to have options. A PC gamer expects a game to have graphics options coming out of its ass and around the block. Is it possible to also expect options that allow us to tailor our gaming experience? The other day I landed on a YouTube video by Bethesda YouTuber MrMattyPlays. He mentioned that Bethesda has stated that they make games for the hardcore gamer.
Bethesda themselves have come out and said, we make our games for the hardcore gamer. And if you're doing so, I think you need to make decisions for the hardcore gamer, for the person who's going to make 2 to 3 playthroughs in your game, not the people who are going to play through once because their time's limited. Maybe that's selfish of me to say, but that's just my honest opinion on the matter.
Yet ever since Morrowind, it can be argued that they seem to have made strides to have their games be more accessible to a wider audience. Bethesda Games also handles increased difficulty settings in a very simplistic way. Both Skyrim and Fallout 4 decreases or increases player damage taken and received by margins of 0.5 or 0.25 depending on the difficulty. Fallout 4 introduced survival mode, although it's more accurate to say that it was modified via patch after the game's release. It gave us the standard damage dealt and taken difference, but also kept the increased chance for legendary enemy encounters, stim packs that now heal over time, it disabled quick save, and much more. But it was the disabled quick save that I mentioned that kept me away from it for some time. A mod was created to remove that one feature, as not everyone has the time to die after progressing for an hour. Perhaps such a thing shouldn't have been left up to a mod. I am in no way a programmer. I took programming classes a couple of years ago, but I sucked at it. So I may be talking out of my ass. But could a clever individual make all these added difficulty modifiers options that we can tick up or down? I'm not advocating that we do away with preset difficulty settings, but what if I wanted the survival experience without certain settings? What if I wanted the game to be even more challenging? Make every enemy I encounter be legendary, for example, or make it so my enemies are better equipped, or make it so they don't have unlimited ammunition, or all of the above. Maybe then things like this wouldn't be possible. These are of course options that make the game harder or different for its own sake, but Forza 5 rewarded the player for ticking options up.
The true incentive to engage more deeply with the simulation of Forza 5 is that for every assist you toggle off, you earn more money in a race.
I suspect certain games would be more difficult than others to include such options, let alone figure out a way to reward the player. Borderlands is a game that I believe can benefit greatly from customizable difficulty settings. I've been playing Borderlands 2 lately, and sometimes I would farm for better weapons. I play alone, but I use a neat little tool that tricks the game into believing that I'm playing online with more players. The tool allows me to emulate a game of 2, 3, or 4 players. It makes the game more difficult, and I'm rewarded with better loot drops. Borderlands would benefit significantly from the ability to gather friends into a server and decide together to tick some options up and tackle a boss. Like, let's see what this boss will drop if we give him health regeneration, make his attacks add elemental damage, and have his ultimate attack always be a one-hit kill. Or forget about doing it for the loot. Let's just do it for the challenge to see if we can do it. This can add a significant amount of replayability to Borderlands. Now the biggest problem that I can see from having options like these is that it could compromise the creator's vision of the game. In a world where video games are now also capable of telling highly compelling stories, it makes sense to also have the ability to allow people to tick difficulty options down, progress faster, and experience the story in the short amount of free time that many people are cursed with. But if we take a Super Mario game, would Shigeru Miyamoto really want to add an option that allows Mario to jump higher and further? Older games in particular relied heavily on supplying gamers with a challenge. I suppose that's what cheat codes were really for back then. But modern games don't shy away from this. A game like Armored Core made winning or losing certain battles alter the story. Coincidentally, Dark Souls, another game by the same developer, made dying a core aspect of its universe.
Death is very, very different in the Dark Souls world. Death is real. You died. And what is effectively reloading is, in fact, an in-world experience your character actually goes through. You're not reloading and creating an alternate timeline like you do in most other games, and because of this, your character in-game is directly experiencing the same exact repetition and pain that you are.
But with the release of a new, difficult game, stories keep developing of people beating the game using only a vibrator. It's only a matter of time before someone finishes Nioh using a 1967 Volkswagen Beetle. Perhaps when it comes to difficulty modifiers, certain games have nowhere else to go but up. I loved Deus Ex Human Revolution, but the one thing it really needed was a difficulty setting beyond Give Me Deus Ex, where the health and energy regeneration was disabled. If that were the case, then it would have made sense to carry boxes full of candy bars around. Instead, I could simply find a corner, hang out until one energy bar fills up, throw a brick against the wall, and knock out the poor bastard who walks over to investigate. I repeat this process until I can build an Illuminati pyramid out of unconscious bodies. And could or should AI manipulation be a thing in more games? Real-time strategy games regularly come with the options to make CPU factions be more defensive or aggressive. But then again, that's not TS. I suspect implementing such a thing in a first-person shooter would be more complicated. But I'll tell you what I know. I wish that the original Deus Ex gave me the ability to fight my way out of New York, instead of always having to be caught by UNATCO one way or another. I also know that I played a lot of Batman Arkham City Challenge Mode and regularly chose the options to remove the enemy countersign and make the enemies faster, hit harder, and have more health. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section what you think, because I believe that this is something that's worth discussing. Thanks for watching this video, or reading my article. If you don't know what I mean by that, then check the description below.